So welcome to our blog series for Azura Consulting. My name is Anna Banda, and I'm here in Dallas, Texas, where our headquarters is. And we started a Women in Science blog series inviting female scientists to discuss their scientific careers. Today, we're welcoming Dr. Kristen Lear, our eighth guest in this series. So thank you for joining us. So first, please tell us about yourself, your job title, what that entails.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Kristen Lear. I am a bat conservationist. So I work around the world to research and protect bat species that are at risk of extinction. I have been working with bats for over 15 years now, and I work at Bat Conservation International. We are a nonprofit that works around the world to end bat extinctions. It's my passion. Bats are my passion. Been doing this for quite a while. And at BCI, I lead our Agave restoration initiative, where we are working to restore agave plants, which we use to make things like tequila and mezcal. Working to restore those plants for threatened and endangered pollinating bats that rely on those plants for food and for nectar. So we're working across the Southwest US and Mexico to restore those plants for the bats, but also for people to continue harvesting and using those plants for their cultural purposes.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, I
it's
love
an awesome
bats.
job.
So
Yep.
they are. When did you know this is what you wanted to do?
I had an inkling very, very early on as a kid. I had always been drawn to the creepy crawlies, spiders, snakes, rats. I had pet rats growing up. And bats, like bats just fascinated me when we would go out for Girl Scout night hikes in the evenings. We could see the bats flying around, and I was always kind of drawn to them because most people kind of have that well, not most people anymore, but some people have that kind of fear or misconceptions about bats. So at a very, very early age, I started learning about bats. For my Girl Scout Silver Award project in sixth grade, I actually built 4 bat houses for my project. And that was my first kind of unofficial introduction into bat conservation when I was 12. And then, yeah, in college, I got my first experience hands-on working with bat research down in Texas as an undergrad, and that is when I knew 100% that bat conservation was what I wanted to do the rest of my life for my career.
Mhm. So, what's one of your more favorite memories of your career?
That's a hard one. There have been so many. I think one of the coolest things about bats is bats are all over the world. They're literally found on every continent except Antarctica. So you can really travel anywhere in the world to study and protect bats. So I've gotten to go to really cool places like Australia, Mexico, Hungary, Belize, Costa Rica, to study bats and see bats. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of the job is getting to see all these cool bats around the world. But I think one of the most tangible moments of my career was when I was first getting involved in bat conservation as an undergrad. I spent a few summers down in Texas studying the pest control services of bats in pecan orchards in Central Texas. I was a research assistant, so I was helping a PhD student with her own research. And one of the things that I did is I implemented my own independent project for my senior honors thesis, my last year of college. And I built 18 different bat houses to compare bat use of different designs of bat houses to see if they preferred one type over the other. And so I built these 18 bat houses from scratch with these big, power tools and table saws. Went to the lumber yard in the small town to get the lumber. Built these bat houses from scratch with my own hands. And I put them up in the pecan orchards, and about 3 or 4 days later, I went back to check on the houses to see if any bats had moved in. And it was evening, and I looked up into the house, and there were these cute little furry bats hanging around in my bat house that I had built, and I was so ecstatic. And then the best part happened. Those bats flew away because it was evening, time to go eat. And I looked up again into the house, and there were these little tiny, like pink things, furless pink babies
Oh my
up
goodness.
in the bat house. And I realized that the mother bats had decided to pick my bat house to give birth to and raise their baby bats, their pups. So I honestly, I started kind of tearing up and started crying because I was just so moved that, the bat houses that I had built were helping these mother bats raise their babies. And that was
Mhm.
one of those solidifying moments in my career that I knew I was on the right path.
Yeah. It's almost like they were just waiting for that perfect bat house.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, usually bats, it'll take, I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. Usually it takes a while for bats to move into bat houses, like even a
Yes.
couple years. But this was just a really high density area, so it was,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was wondering
lucky.
that myself because we inherited one that I don't have the height anywhere in my house to do it.
Yeah,
So I gave it to my sister-in-law, and I was like, I don't know how you're gonna work this because I don't know much. It's
yeah,
like, but
yep,
I was like, yeah, eventually, hopefully, it'll be of use.
yeah. Just gotta be patient.
Although I, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's one thing you wish you had known when you first started working, just right out of college.
Hmm.
Something you'd like to share that would help people, maybe in the same
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I think conservation, the field of conservation in general, typically involves a lot of the soft skills. We call them soft skills. Things like communication, um, project management skills, those kind of, like even now social media skills, which is like the communication aspects. Um, so I think if I would have loved to have started learning more about those kind of soft skills earlier on in my career. Especially nowadays with the internet, with social media, being able to communicate your science or your conservation is extremely important for getting the message out there, for getting funding. Writing grants is a big part of what I do. So I think, yeah, I would just encourage anyone out there who's getting started to not forget about those skills. Obviously, you need if you're going to be a conservation biologist, you need the ecology, the conservation courses, the math, the statistics, all those things. But definitely start looking into those other skills and strengthening those because they're immensely helpful.
Yes, they very
Yeah.
much are. So
Yep.
I can attest to that one.
Yep.
Um, so how do you maintain a good work-life balance, or
Hmm.
do you?
It fluctuates, I think.
Yeah.
There are some times when it's more balanced, other times not so much. But I think, I'm lucky, and I know a lot of people in my field feel the same way, is that, what I do is my passion. It's not just a job for me. It's not just a 9 to 5 and forget about it. This is what I love doing. And so in a lot of my free time, I will do things like outreach and education and, bat walks or bat talks to
Mhm.
kids or to adult groups, because it's fun for me. It's not just a job. So I think that helps, but it also kind of blurs the line between, work-life balance. Um, but yeah, just having hobbies or just something that you like to do, whether it's just veg out, or go somewhere, with your family or your friends, is important, no matter what you do. So I think and again, it fluctuates. It's not always an even keel, but overall it works out.
So have there been any challenges you've had to overcome, either in work or personal life? Um,
Yeah.
Maybe you get to have a way around it for other people.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the work that I've done has been international work, outside the United States where I live. And so, particularly my PhD work was in Mexico. So I spent it was 4 summers working, living down in Mexico. And that was a challenge for me because I kind of knew Spanish, but not really.
Hmm.
You don't really get to practice much, at least I didn't in my everyday life. So that was a big challenge, is learning the language, learning the culture and the customs, and being able to do the work in that environment on my own with collaborators, of course. But I wasn't, down with a school group or anything like that. It was on my own. So that was definitely a challenge for me. But I think being able to learn a second language, I'm still not, completely fluent, but that has really helped in my career because I still do a lot of work in Mexico with my collaborators that I was working with during my PhD work and new collaborators in Spanish. So yeah, if you're working abroad, definitely learn the language if possible. Like that's the least we can do, as researchers in another country. And then it also just makes your life easier. So I would highly encourage that.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So since this is a, women in science series, we'd like to highlight some maybe gender struggles that
Mhm.
you might have experienced in your career.
Mhm.
Have there been any of those experiences you'd like to share?
Oh yeah, definitely. Working, yeah, working out in some of the rural areas or some of the areas in other countries where I've been, as a woman, has definitely posed
Mhm.
challenges. There have been times when the group of us, so myself and then my field assistants, have been all women. Not every time, but there have been times when like the three or four of us were all women. And then going out into the field, we kind of sometimes get, I don't want to say pushback, but a little bit of like hesitancy for like, are you capable of doing this? Like you're working out at night by yourself in these remote areas, like there's mountain lions around, like that kind of pushback about like, should you be out here by yourself
Mhm.
without a man is the implication. And so yeah, that has definitely been something we've had to work through, but um, we show that we are capable, first of all. And we explain what we're doing out there. We meet with folks beforehand. We're not just going out without permission. And we meet with the people that we're working with locally. So um, yeah, it's just a challenge, but there's ways around it.
Yeah, that's yeah, I know there's plenty more struggles, but
Yeah.
hopefully knowing that other people have to go through it might give them a little bit more confidence to,
Yeah.
stand up to
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Yeah. Just show them, I mean, yeah, what you can
Professionally, of
do.
course.
Exactly. And yep.
Yes,
And be
without
yourself
ruffling
and it's
feathers.
good. Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So, one final question.
Mhm.
What advice would you give women, especially
Mm.
young women, wanting to pursue a career such as yours, or
Mhm.
just sciences in general?
Yeah, I would say for anyone, no matter who you are, finding a
Mhm.
mentor or mentors is immensely helpful through your career. And these mentors can be, formal mentors who are, your undergrad advisor who you're officially assigned, right? Somebody that you work with formally, or it could be somebody who you've met at a conference or even if it's not someone in your field, but just someone to encourage you along the way, give you that positive feedback to help you along the way. That has been immensely helpful for me, is having those mentors throughout my life, to help with different stages of my career. So that applies to anyone. And nowadays there's lots of resources for women in STEM, for girls going into these STEM careers. So, there's platforms or databases of other women scientists, out there. So definitely look into those platforms and see if you can reach out to someone. I know it's it's always intimidating, at least for me, to cold call or cold email someone.
Mhm.
But the worst they can do is either never get back to you, which happens, people get busy, or they could say no, like they don't have time. But that's the worst that can happen. They're not going to be offended that you reached out to them. So yeah, just try to find people to help encourage you along the way, including friends, those informal kind of mentors.
Mm.
Really, really can help propel you and make you feel confident in your career and your choices.
That's great advice. I
Yeah.
wish more colleges had those kind of resources. We had a
Yeah.
Women in Science and Engineering was ours, and I know I
Yeah.
was a mentor to some of the freshmen coming in.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
program, and yeah, I wish they
Yeah.
all did it.
I know, me too. But I mean, like like you said, the colleges, they have like alumni networks. Some of them
Hmm.
have like official alumni mentoring programs like my college. So yeah, definitely look into that and take advantage of those programs.
If not, you can help start one
Yeah, exactly,
and help
exactly,
other women out.
exactly.
Uh, so do you have anything you'd like to add? Share before we
Yeah,
conclude?
I think there's two ends of the coin for me. Like it's never too early or to get started, and it's never too late to get started in something. So if there's something you're passionate about, but you're in elementary school or middle school, and you're like, oh, I really want to learn about that, but I'm just a kid. You can still
Hmm.
do stuff, right? Like I built those 4 bat houses for my
Yeah,
silver
that's
award when I was
amazing.
12. And I mean, they were not great bat houses looking back. Like they're not, but it's a learning experience. You get involved, you start learning. So
Hmm.
that's something I would encourage no matter how young you are, start learning, start reading. There's a lot of cool social media accounts on like TikTok and Instagram.
Hmm. Yeah.
BCI, we have ours, and like to learn bat facts, just like fun bat stuff. So check out all of that. And then the other side of the coin, if you're older and you're thinking about changing careers, like, yes, it might be
Hmm.
difficult to do that, but it's not impossible. I've had plenty of
Hmm.
friends who are older, second career, where they're in grad school or they're at university trying to get a degree in like biology or zoology as a second career. So it's never too late to start as well. So those
Yeah.
would be my parting words.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Never too late, never too
Yeah.
early. Yeah. The earlier you do, the sooner you find your niche that you really find your passion
Yeah.
through, and sooner
Yeah.
you can have fun with it.
Yeah, and try different things, right? Like, some
Yeah. And try
people
different things.
know, like, I knew very
Hmm.
early on that I wanted to work with animals. Like, as a kid, I was, like, bouncing around. I wanted to work with wolves and then dolphins and then be an entomologist with insects, and then I
Yeah.
wanted to be a vet, right? But I knew animals, and then I realized in college that you could make a whole career of working with just bats, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't
Hmm.
know that was possible."
Oh, yeah.
So I knew that, but I have a lot of friends who tried many different things until they really settled and found their passion.
Hmm.
So don't feel like if you haven't found that yet, that you're doing something wrong, because you're not. You're just exploring. You're finding out what you don't like, which is just as important as finding out what you do like. So,
Yes. Yes, it is. 'Cause there's definitely gonna be way more of the that you don't like
yes,
versus what you do.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say one last thing. For conservation, the field of conservation, it is so broad. Like there are many, many ways to be involved in the field of conservation. I think the typical idea, the typical vision that we see is, the field biologist. You're dressed in your khakis and your field shirt, and you're out collecting data, doing research in the jungle or the desert or wherever. Yes, that's a huge part of conservation, but that's only part of it. If you're not the field type of person, that's fine. I actually right now don't do a lot of field work for my job anymore. I'm more working with partners to establish conservation programs, fundraising, writing grants, communicating our work to the public. And all of those things are equally important in the field of conservation. We need people who do the field work. We need people who do the statistics. That's not me. I'm not the statistics person. We need those people. We need the people who communicate, the science communicators. We need the grant writers. All of these things. We need the artists, to showcase the beauty of nature
Mhm.
and wildlife. So if you're interested in conservation, but you're like, oh, I don't like statistics or I don't like doing field work, that's okay. You don't have to. You can still be
Yeah.
in the field of conservation.
Yeah. Find what the part you like and run
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. But they're all
Mhm.
all important.
Yes. Yes. All the cogs in the wheel.
Yes. Lots of
Um,
cogs.
yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kristen.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you meeting with me, helping to spread your knowledge and advice, and all of your experiences.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I always love talking about bats. So thanks for the opportunity.